Good evening and welcome you all to Project Target. This is an online seminar series for all three subjects conducted in both mediums, happening for the second consecutive year. Initially, we had planned to do this physically, but due to various circumstances, we have decided to have it online. Today, we are here with the English Medium Economics Seminar. It will be done by Mr. Arshad Ismail. Before we move on with the session, we have a small video message brought to you by our main sponsor, IIT.
Firstly, I studied in Zaira College, Colombo, Maradana. I finished my O-levels on 2018. And right after I finished my O-levels, I started with AAT. Whilst I'm doing A-levels, I was doing AAT and I didn't think that AAT can make a big effect while I started. But doing it, I got a message like this makes my life easy. Like doing A-levels in commerce stream and similarly doing AAT makes my studies easier. And I got a professional qualification with it. I was senior prefect on 2021. And I also did karate for 6 years in my school. Extracurriculars was also there. But doing AAT made me excel in studies in commerce stream. And once I finished my school, I had a professional qualification with me, which is a value addition in my life career. And it helped me to get a good job too. And currently I'm in audit firm. I think doing AAT will make your life a plus added to your career.
I'm Vinuri Ranasinghe from Seema Bandhana Vidyalaya. I started AAT right after doing O-levels, and it was a great help for my advanced level examinations as well. So I recommend AAT to all my dear sisters and brothers. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vishamati Shamarasinghe. I'm a student of Royal College, Colombo. So I joined AAT soon after my O-levels. And it has been a great help for me when I was facing my A-levels. I recommend all of you all to join AAT since it will be a great help in going forward with your education. Thank you.
On behalf of RAC UOCFMF, I would like to thank IIT for sponsoring Project Target. As a part of our project, we have also prepared a model paper book, which you can purchase for just 700 rupees. This book contains 6 model papers for accounting, economics, and business studies, along with their answer scripts, which have been prepared by teachers in leading schools. This book is available in both English and Sinhala mediums. All projects raised through Project Target will be directed towards Project Sisuvara. Project Sisuvara is a community service project in which rural underprivileged schools will be chosen and their necessities will be fulfilled. So if you can, please contribute towards this worthy cause. Once again, it's a model paper book which you can purchase for just 700 rupees. The link to purchase the book is in the chat box below. Moving on, to give you an introduction about our lecturer today, Mr. Arshad Ismail is a valuable member of Frontier Research, an economics-related firm where he specializes in predicting exchange and interest rates. He holds a first-class BBA in business economics and has achieved the top 50 island rank in the A-levels examination. Additionally, Mr. Arshad is a CIMA past finalist, further solidifying his expertise. With his extensive practical experience and exceptional academic achievements, Mr. Arshad brings a wealth of knowledge to his role as a lecturer, offering students a comprehensive understanding of economics. We are delighted to have Mr. Arshad as a part of our project, and we encourage all students to benefit from his exceptional knowledge and expertise. Over to you, Mr. Arshad.
Okay, thank you, Sandhya. I'm guessing that y'all can hear me as well, guys. Right.
Yes.
So we'll get started. I do have a very interesting topic for the day that is on maximum prices and also on price stabilization. Okay, so some of you all would have already learned it. Some of you all might have not. So give me a couple of seconds. Let me get my screen shared. Right, hold on. Right. Okay. So before we start, right, just a few things on how the session would go. I'm not planning to do this session for too long, even though the flyer said that it was supposed to happen from 6:30 to 9:30. Maybe if I can finish the areas beforehand, I will finish off the session early. But for that, I will need your support. And in terms of support, what I would want is I want you all to be active on the chat box. I will not encourage you all to unmute yourselves and start speaking, because when that happens, there is so much of noise that happens, and people can't really concentrate. So what we will do is you can definitely start texting on the chat box. I'll keep it to the host and co-hosts only. So you can definitely text me, right? First of all, before we start off, okay, we have two topics. Can you all let me know, have you all learned these two topics? One is on maximum prices and the other is on price stability. Yes or no? Give me yes or no, quick, right? So that I know that you're awake as well and you're listening to me. Price stability, yes, no? Right. Okay, good. Okay. So I did select this topic because I felt it's a topic that is relevant for both the 2023 A-level batch and the 2024 A-level batch. Okay. So the first topic for the day. The first topic for the day is maximum prices. Now, the 2020, I think my 2024 A-level students, you all just learned it last week with me, but that's okay. We'll do a recap. I've added a new few areas as well. So both of these subtopics are from unit number 3. Unit number 3 is on government intervention. So in your syllabus, you have 12 units, 12 chapters in your economics syllabus. This is unit number 3 in your syllabus. So unit number 3, if you talk about unit number 3 a little, it's about how the government intervenes into the market. So we'll talk about taxes, we'll talk about subsidies, we talk about these price controls. So under price controls, this is what we are going to talk about today. That is maximum prices and also price stabilization. Now, why did I select this topic for today? Not because it's hard, not because it's easy, because I personally feel it can be a question that can show up in the next couple of years. So a calculation related to maximum prices has not been tested in the A-level paper for the last at least 11 to 12 years, especially in paper 2. In paper 2, if for those who are aware of the paper, you all would have seen there are so many questions on taxes, minimum prices. Now, even the latest paper, the latest 2022 A-level paper had a question on subsidies. But you've never seen a question or a calculation-based question on maximum prices in the last 11 to 12 years. So that is why I decided to put in something like this. So most likely, maybe this year, maybe next year, there could be a question that the examiner could throw in from maximum prices. Another name is price ceiling. So we'll get started. This session will ideally be divided into two parts. I'll first do the first part on price ceiling and maximum prices. I'll then give you all a small 5-10 minute break, and then we'll go into price stabilization. So the more faster you all respond on the chat box, the more faster I will go and I will finish off the session. So I will not drag the session for 3 hours if I feel that I can finish off this topic in, let's say, 2 hours. If I can even finish this off in 1 hour, I would do it. So all of that depends on how you all respond on the chat box. If I realize that no one is responding, I would try to think that, maybe no one understands. So then I would re-explain it again and again, go very slow. Yeah. So then the class might drag on until 9:30. And given that today is the IPL final as well, boys, you might be a little interested. Some of your girls also, I've seen you all seen you all do watch the cricket match as well. I think it starts at 7:30. I don't think I can finish by 7:30, but at least, you know, by the time it's for the second innings, I'll make sure that I wrap things up so that you can, for those who are watching the match, you all can go and watch it. Right. Yes. Can you all let me know on the chat box before we start and do everything? Are you ready to go? Yes. Ready to start? So that I know that you're not fallen asleep. Ready? Good to go? Nice. Okay. So I'm hoping that you all can see a new screen that I've shared. I think it's loading. Okay. So the topic for today. If anyone has questions, please don't feel shy, guys. Send a message on the chat box. I'm not going to remember your name. I'm not going to judge you. So if you have questions, it can be the stupidest of questions. That's okay, right? Maybe I don't consider it stupid, but you might think, you know, if I ask this, sir will start to judge me. I won't. Okay. I'm also a student from the University of Colombo, Faculty of Management and Finance, right? Even though some of you all might not know, right? The people who are organizing this project along with a few other Interact clubs. I've been a part of the organizing committee last year as well, was not that involved this year. So we'll start and get going. Okay. So what is a maximum price? Or how does this whole price ceiling work? Yes, how many of you all have learned unit number 2? In unit number 2, do you all remember something that we talked about equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity? How many of you all remember that? Something called the equilibrium price, where this demand and supply comes and intersects each other. And based on this demand and supply, right? I'll draw it on top here. Based on demand and supply, what do we have? We have what? We have something called market equilibrium, yeah? That is the equilibrium price, the point where it intersects. But what if the equilibrium price in the market is too high? Let's take a essential good. Let's take something like, we'll take something like gas cylinders these days. Now, how much is a gas cylinder? I think it's close to around 4,000, 5,000 rupees. Do you think the price of a gas cylinder is a little too high? Yes or no? Do you think 4,000, 5,000 is something that is affordable by everyone in Sri Lanka? I don't think, no. Maybe people like you and me, we might be able to. But what about the really poor people? What about the people who are not able to do something? So if I take this diagram, let me explain the whole story using this diagram. Okay. So let's assume currently this is the demand and supply for gas cylinders. Okay, demand and supply for what? Demand and supply for gas cylinders. Let's assume that currently the equilibrium price is set at 5,000 rupees. That is the current market equilibrium. Current market equilibrium is at how much? It's at 5,000. Now the government of Sri Lanka feels, right now, who is in power? We have Ranil and his friends. So Ranil and his friends feel this 5,000 is a little too much. The consumers can't afford 5,000. It's very hard. There are a lot of poor people in Sri Lanka. Maybe they're not really able to afford this 5,000. So do you know what the government would do? Government would come and tell the gas cylinder supplier, would tell them, look here, supplier, you can maximum sell a gas cylinder only for 3,000 rupees. What does the government do? Government feels that the equilibrium price in the market is unfair. So they feel that 5,000 for a gas cylinder is unfair. So what does the government do? Government comes and says, look here, supplier, don't start playing the fool with me. You can maximum sell a gas cylinder only for 3,000 rupees. So what does the government do? They come and set a maximum price at this place. Okay, guys, give me 1 second. Let me switch my Wi-Fi. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay, because I feel there was a small lag between me writing and it displaying on the board. Okay, so once again, the story, the price for gas cylinders is 5,000. Government feels this is unfair for the consumer. So to protect the consumer, what does the government do? Government comes in and sets a maximum price at 3,000 rupees. Please, can you tell me what would happen in the market now? Can you tell me what would happen to the consumers? People like you and me, are we going to be happy or sad? What's going to happen in the market? Quickly give me an answer now. Don't fall asleep. What is going to happen now? People like you and me, when the government comes and says, look here, right, I'm going to give you a gas cylinder for 3,000. People like you and me, we're going to start becoming happy. So what do you think happens for the quantity demanded according to the law of demand? When the price of a gas cylinder goes from 5,000 to 3,000, what happens to the quantity demanded? The quantity demanded for a gas cylinder. Let's say earlier, there were 100 gas cylinders bought and sold. But now, when the price goes down to a 3,000, what happens? Now, a lot of people want to buy gas cylinders. Now, let's say the demand for gas cylinders, the quantity demanded for gas cylinders goes up to 125, right? Nice to see most of you all give me answers. I think I at least got 100 answers on the chat box. So apart from the other 20 of you all, almost everyone is active. Nice, right? So guys, on the other side, what happens to the gas cylinder supplier? What do you think happens to him? Do you think he is happy or sad? What happens to this guy? This guy is the one happy. No, he is sad. He was selling the gas cylinder for 5,000 and making a huge profit, but now he can only sell it for 3,000. So according to the law of supply, can you tell me what happens to the quantity supplied now when the price goes down to a 3,000? When the price goes down to a 3,000, what happens to the quantity supply? The quantity supplied now comes down. See, look at this. You come into, now let's say, 75 units. Guys, what is the problem in the market now? People want to buy 125 gas cylinders, but there is only 75 gas cylinders that the suppliers are willing to sell. So there is a what? There is a shortage in the market. In other words, there is an excess demand. See, the number of gas cylinders that consumers are willing to buy. Look at this. At the price of 3,000, you draw the line and see. At the price of 3,000, the consumers are willing to buy 125 because they are happy now. But what happens? What happens with the supplier? The supplier is willing to supply how much, guys? Supplier is willing to supply only 75. So now there is a problem. What is the problem? There is a excess demand in the market, or in other words, there is a shortage of the goods in the market. Can you tell me there's a shortage of how much in the market? What is the number? How many units of a shortage do we have? The quantity demanded is 125, but there is only 75 units being supplied. How much is the shortage, guys? How much units are short in the market? There is a 50 units that is short. This distance, this is the excess what? This is the excess demand that we have. Or in other words, we can also call this what? We can call this the shortage in the market. Now there is a problem. What's the problem? Government came and tried to help the consumer because government felt that 5,000 is too much for a gas cylinder. So government came and set a maximum price at 3,000. When the government came and set a maximum price at 3,000, there is what? There is a shortage of gas cylinders in the market now because QD increases, QS falls. Yes, can you tell me now? I want you all to use a little bit of common sense and tell me how many gas cylinders will be bought and sold in the market now after this maximum price? Is it 75, 100 or 125? How many will be bought and sold? Only 75 gas cylinders, right? Why is that? Because even though the consumers are willing to buy 125, the supplier is supplying only 75. So how can you buy 125? Consumer is happy. He is standing in the queue and he is saying, you know, mata denna 125. Right? He is willing to willing to buy 125. But if the supplier has only 75, then you can't do anything. So in other words, guys, now what happens? The market quantity is restricted to how many units? The market quantity is now restricted to this amount, guys. What is the amount? The amount of 75 units. Because can you buy and sell more than 75? Can't. Even though the consumer is willing to buy 125, supplier is supplying only 75. How can you buy 125 when there is only a 75? The market quantity gets limited. Is that clear? So far we find excess demand gets created, market quantity now is limited to a 75. Okay. Yes. Now what do you think happens? Just tell me. There is 125 people willing to buy. Only 75 gas cylinders are there. What do you think could happen now? Now, there is like a shortage. No? So now people are standing in queues. Remember, we were standing in the gas polymer. I also remember, I also was standing, carrying the gas cylinder, empty gas cylinder, nothing to do. Right? Standing in the, I found a shady place though. I was standing and waiting. Some of you all also maybe would have gone and stayed in the gas polymer. Right? So we would have stayed. What do you think the sellers would try to do now? Think that you're the gas supplier. You have 75 gas cylinders. You can see 125 people lining up outside your shop. What do you think you would do? You have only 75, but you can see 125 people lining in your shop, everyone carrying a gas cylinder and queue now. Everyone has got a number and they're standing and waiting. What do you think he would do? Right. Can he legally increase the price? Do you think he can legally increase the price? Can he do that? Because why? Government has come and said, I am imposing a maximum price of 3,000. What does that mean? Maximum you can sell it only for 3,000. You sell it at 2,500, 2,000, 1,005. I don't care. But if you sell it more than 3,000, I will put you to jail. Don't get caught. So what will the seller do now? Legally, he can't sell it at more than 3,000. So what is he trying to do now? Illegally, what does he do? He will advertise saying, in the gas cylinder ganna 3,000. But illegally, when you stand in the queue and when you come near him, he will say, look here, Matya, 3,000 denna bad. Okay. What does he do? He says, right? He says, give me a little bit more, right? Because there are so many people, but I am giving you the gas cylinder. So can you give me a little bit more? So what is he doing here, guys? He is now creating a black market. What is a black market? A black market is an illegal market. So if anyone is selling gas cylinders more than 3,000, that is illegal. That's a black market. So what is a black market? It's an illegal market because government has set the maximum price at 3,000. If you are selling more than 3,000, that's illegal. So what is the seller doing now? Seller is slowly trying to, do what? Slowly trying to sell this at more than 3,000. No, he's telling, product, give me a little bit more. So what is he doing? He creates a black market. Yes, what is the maximum black market price? Now remember, anything above 3,000 is a black market price. Because what is a black market price? An illegal price. What do you think is the maximum thing? How do we find that out, guys? Do you think it's 5,000? Can't it be more? How do we find that? To find the maximum black market price, we will go and see. What will we go and see? We will go and see to buy 75 gas cylinders. To buy 75 gas cylinders, right? We will connect. Here, look at this. Look at the board, right? To buy 75 gas cylinders, I am drawing a line where? I'm drawing a line upwards to my demand curve. And we are seeing to buy 75 gas cylinders, what is the price the consumer is willing to pay? So 75, I drew a line upwards to my demand curve. I connect it to the price axis. So let's assume that the consumer to buy 75 gas cylinders is willing to pay 7,500. Now, what is this 7,500? This is what you call the maximum. The maximum what? Maximum black market. I'll just say BM, guys. Okay, maximum black market price. Now, just because there is a shortage, you can't sell a gas cylinder for 50,000. So the maximum that you can sell a gas cylinder now is for how much? For 7,500. Is that part clear? A black market is created, and now the sellers will try to sell it for 7,500. Not legally, but illegally. Right? They will not advertise saying gas cylinder 7,500. But when you come to buy, he will say, you know, right? And you will have to pay a 7,500. Is did the consumer benefit? Think of my whole story from the beginning. Government felt that this price of 5,000 was unfair. Government felt the price of 5,000 was unfair for the consumer. So government came and created the maximum price and set it at 3,000. Now, after the government came and set the maximum price, what happened? A shortage was created in the market. After the shortage was created, what happened, guys? So now it became 7,500. If a person sells more than 7,500, won't they buy? No one will buy. Yes. Right? I'll come to certain question now, don't worry. Okay. So now what happened? The consumer who was earlier buying the gas cylinder for 5,000, now this fellow has to end up buying it for 7,500. So something stupid that the government did, the consumer became worse off. He was buying it at 5,000, complaining, anda hari gatta panda agata, right? You were scolding goat and running land, still you were buying it at 5,000. But now after the government put the maximum price, now you end up paying 7,500. So then what should happen, guys? Can the government just put this maximum price and stay quiet? They can't do that. Government has to put the maximum price and they have to take legal action against anyone who sells more than 3,000, because otherwise easily black market is created. So government can't come and just announce in the news, heta indang 3,000 is the maximum price, you can't sell more than that. They can't do that. They have to set the maximum price and they have to enforce some sort of legal action. They have to go and monitor these gas selling places and see, are these people selling more than 3,000? Because if they are not going to do anything like that, then what is the point? Because then easily a black market gets created and what happens? And the price goes up to 7,500. No point. So government, in addition to setting the maximum price, to make it actually meaningful, to give the benefit to the consumer, what should they do? They should implement proper legal measures. They should, let's say if anyone is selling for more than 3,000, put the fellow to jail. Fine the fellow of 50,000, 100,000. They need to take some legal measures like that. Otherwise, there is no point. So that is the basic story about a black market and a maximum price. So far, are we okay, guys? Any questions? I don't want you all to memorize. Remember this as a story, though. Now, fine. Others also. Then, okay. Look at this. Now, these effects, guys, you all can read this. Okay, I am not a right. I'll come to how they will solve this thing and all. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read notes, guys. I'm not a fan of this. Okay. So, what are the effects of a maximum price? I'll repeat. I'll summarize again. Don't worry for those who wanted. So, just look at this. One effect is, okay, what is one effect? One effect is the creation of a shortage of goods. So, there is what? There will be a shortage of goods in the market. So, now if you take maximum prices, guys, government can put maximum prices for the housing market, for rent. Now, if the government feels that all the house owners are charging too much rent, they can come and put a maximum price for rent. They can say maximum, if you're giving, let's say, a 2-bedroom house, okay, maximum 50,000. 3-bedroom house, 60,000. They can put a maximum price like that as well. Okay. So it creates a shortage. Number two, it encourages the black market to be created. That's another effect. And what's another effect, guys? Because of the black market price, what happens? The goods get sold at a price more than the previous price. Now, just look at my example. The previous price for a gas cylinder was 5,000. But after the maximum price, after the shortage and all of it, now what happened? The gas cylinder is being sold at 7,500. So it's being sold at even more than the previous equilibrium price. That is also something that you can give as an effect of a maximum price. So then, guys, now let me re-explain this and go into the consumer surplus, producer surplus, and all of that. So for those who didn't understand so far, I want you all to listen again very carefully until I quickly summarize. Okay? Right. Let's talk about the demand and supply and the market for gas cylinders. Let's assume currently the price of gas cylinders is 5,000 rupees, right? One gas cylinder is 5,000, and there are, I'll come to searching cost, guys. I will not omit, don't worry. I'll come, hold on, right? 5,000, and let's assume 100 gas cylinders were bought and sold in the market. Government felt that 5,000 is too much, unfair for the consumer. So what did the government do now? Government came and set a maximum price at 3,000. Government told maximum you can sell a what? Maximum you can sell a gas cylinder is for how much? For 3,000. How the shortage can be solved? I'll come, guys. I'm hoping you all would have opened the tutor and check. It's there, right? Approaches to take. It's there. I'll come. Don't worry, right? You don't have to send the same question 100 times. I don't miss it. Okay. So now what happens? Now at this price of 3,000, the consumer, okay, the consumer is willing to buy 125 gas cylinders, but the producers are willing to supply how much? They are willing to supply only 75 gas cylinders. So there is what created? There is a excess demand created in the market. There is what? There is an excess demand. And then I ask you all, how many units will be bought and sold? All of you all told me 75 units will be bought and sold. So the market quantity is now limited to how much? Is now limited to 75 units. Okay. Yes. Let me label this as A, B, C, D, E, F, and all, and we'll talk about consumer surplus, producer surplus, and all of that. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay. Yes. Before we get into anything, can you all tell me what is the, this is before, this is after. Okay. Yes, what is the consumer surplus and the producer surplus before? Now, before the whole maximum price and everything, just think, unit number 2, very basic. Which area is consumer surplus? Which area is producer surplus? Before all of this, before the maximum price and everything, what is consumer surplus and producer surplus? Give me the letters. Which one? Before all of this, what are the letters, guys? Before all of this, consumer surplus is A, B, and C. What is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is A, B, and C. That is this area. Okay, that is before the maximum price. Now, before the maximum price came, consumer surplus is A, B, and C. Which area is producer surplus? Producer surplus, before everything it is D, E, and F. Now, that where do we learn this? We learn this in unit number 2. This is not unit number 3, okay? So unit number 2 and 3 are highly connected. Without knowing unit 2, you can't learn unit number 3 because it will not make sense at all. This is producer surplus. Okay. So let me come and write that down now. Consumer surplus before A plus B plus C. Producer surplus before D plus E plus F. So which one is the economic surplus then? Economic surplus before is the addition of A, B, C, D, E, F. So without writing all the letters, I will just say economic surplus is consumer surplus plus the producer surplus. Is that okay, guys? Any questions on that? This is before all the maximum price and everything. Consumer surplus and the producer surplus. Now we'll come to the interesting part. Okay. The interesting part here is, if the government puts the maximum price of 3,000, we learned that the market quantity gets limited to a 75. That is how much is being bought and sold now. It gets limited to a 75. Okay, can you all tell me now? I'll give you an easy way to find consumer surplus and producer surplus. A very easy way. Okay, tell me how much rupees is the consumer now paying? How many units is he buying? Consumer. How many units is he buying? What is the price he's paying? What do you think? Consumer is now paying for a gas cylinder. They are paying 3,000 rupees. Right now, this is assuming that there is no black market and all. Government has taken proper legal action. They have made the maximum price meaningful. Okay. So then what happens? Consumer is paying 3,000 rupees and buying 75. Look here very carefully. Yeah. How do we do this? If the consumer is paying how much? If the consumer is paying, I'll put this in what color would you like? Purple. Okay. So if the consumer is paying 3,000, buying 75, guys, draw a small line like this. Like what here? A small purple line can't be seen. No, let me make it more thicker. Okay. Draw a purple line like that. How did I draw the purple line? 3,000 to 75. 3,000 in the, I drew a line this way up to 75. So from that point until the demand curve, that is your consumer surplus. How did I figure it out? I asked you all, what is the price the consumer is paying? How many units is he buying? You all told me he is now paying 3,000 rupees, buying 75 units. So from 3,000, I drew a line until 75 here, and then I told you consumer surplus will then become from that point until the demand curve, that entire distance becomes the consumer surplus. So what is the new consumer surplus? The new consumer surplus is this purple area. Now, what is the logic behind this? The logic is, guys, okay, now this you all learn in unit number 2. This is not unit number 3 though, but I'll just teach this to you all quickly. Okay. The logic is, guys, the demand curve shows the price the consumer is willing to pay. Now, what is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays. Let me just show you something. Okay. Now, let's say to buy 10 units, right? To buy 10 units, the consumer is willing to pay, okay, he's willing to pay, let's say 9,000 rupees. He's willing to pay 9,000. But how much does he actually pay? If he goes and buys a cylinder, he only pays 3,000 per unit, right? He's willing to pay 9,000, pays only 3,000. So that is his surplus, no? His surplus. Same thing, until 75 units, he's willing to pay this much. He's willing to pay shown by this demand curve. He actually pays only 3,000. So the difference between that and this becomes the consumer surplus. That is the logic behind that case. So I'll just erase all this which I drew. Okay. Right. So which area is consumer surplus after? Consumer surplus after. Give me the letters. What should be the letters, guys? Consumer surplus after the maximum prices. Others. A, B, and D. A plus B plus D. Yes. Now we look at producer surplus. What is the price the producer is receiving? How many units is he selling? Think. What is the price the producer is receiving? How many units is he selling? Producer is receiving also 3,000 rupees, selling 75 units. So I will draw a line like this now. Selling 75 units at the price of 3,000. Then how do you find producer surplus? Producer surplus is the below area from that line until your supply curve. So here, this is your supply curve. So what is your producer surplus then? What is the area? Producer surplus becomes the area of what? Producer surplus becomes the area of F. Then can you tell me guys, is there a government expenditure or a government revenue here? Now in a tax, there is a government revenue. In a subsidy, there is a government expenditure. Now in this maximum price, is there a government expenditure or a revenue or something? No, right? Government is simply coming and putting a maximum price and just keep it. So if that is the case, what do you think is the economic surplus after? Economic surplus after is simply the addition of the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. What are those letters? A, B, D, and F. A, B, D, and F. Yes. What do you think is the dead weight loss? What is dead weight loss? Dead weight loss is where some party is losing something. No one is getting that benefit. Can you see? Consumer lost the area of C. Now, earlier C was consumer surplus, that triangle. Now he lost it. Producer lost the area of E. No one got it, right? So that area was simply lost and gone. That is what you call the dead weight loss. There is no dead weight loss before. After is what? The area of C plus C. Because I did not go into detail about what is dead weight loss and all of it. I am guessing you all will learn that in your theory classes. That is like a seminar, no, guys. So don't expect me to go into very detail on what is consumer surplus, what does producer surplus mean. So I didn't go into that level. I just taught you all how it works, assuming that most of you all know what consumer surplus means, what producer surplus means, what dead weight loss means. That is your dead weight loss. So all of that you all can jot down over here, guys. So I have given you some space. Are we okay? Now you all need these numbers, guys, because we are going to do a big calculation. Now after this, we are going to do a big calculation on this thing. So far, are we fine, guys? Can you all let me know? Are you all okay with consumer surplus, producer surplus, economic surplus, dead weight loss, before, after? Are you all okay with the areas? Because you need to know these areas, otherwise calculation very well, huh? Right? You will start struggling there. Okay. Yes. Now, since some person has been asking and asking and asking, yes, what if now there is a shortage in this good? There is a shortage, right? So what if the consumer has to, spend a lot of time searching for this good? So there is like a searching cost. He has to Google and see where and where this is there. He has to call his friends and ask where the DNA. In his car, he will be driving around all the gas stations and trying to find. And then maybe he has a he has to spend some extra money to purchase. Maybe he has to pay some bribes and all. Okay. If that is the case, do you think B and D can be consumer surplus? If the consumer has to pay, right, has to spend a lot of time searching for this good, right, might have to pay a bribe and actually buy from the black market itself. If that happens, you know what happens? If that is the case, consumer surplus will only become A. So the inclusion of B and D, right? What is B and D? Remember the two boxes there? The inclusion of B and D to consumer surplus depends on two factors. Number one is the time spent to purchase the scarce goods. Okay, right? The time spent to purchase the scarce goods. So what if you have to stand in queues and pay black market prices and all of that? Okay, that money spent and the time spent searching for the goods. Now there's searching cost. You driving around in your vehicle trying to see what and what is there, right? If there is that, see, if the consumer, okay, if the consumer would not spend an additional cost due to the above two reasons, area B and C will be added to consumer surplus. So if there is no searching cost, if you don't have to pay any bribes or anything, then B and D is also consumer surplus. But if the question clearly tells you, right, in your A-level paper, if they tell you the consumer has to spend a lot of time and money searching for this good, standing in queues, if that is the case, then make sure consumer surplus is not A, B, and D. If that is the case, consumer surplus is only A. But what if your examiner is silent? He has not told. He has just given maximum price, find consumer surplus. He has not told whether there is an extra cost or not. So then what do? Then we can assume there is no extra cost. Then A, B, and D. So if there is like an extra cost, the examiner will specifically mention that. If the examiner is silent about any searching cost or additional cost, then make sure consumer surplus is A, B, and D. But if they have specifically said, so even one factor, guys, even one of these factors, if it is there, then it's only A. Okay. So if they have specifically mentioned this fellow is standing in queues and wasting time, he has to search for the good, then make sure consumer surplus is only A. Is that clear, guys? Yes. Fine. Okay. Right. Yes, I will not go further. It's not very much in your syllabus, right? I don't think your teachers would have taught this to you all as well. Okay. Now, then what happens to this B and D? Now, if this B and D, okay, if this B now consumer is not getting it, no. If the consumer has to spend searching cost and pay black market prices and all of it, then what happens? Once again, to summarize, A, B, and D is consumer surplus, but if the consumer has to spend additional time finding the good, now there is a shortage, no? So searching for the good, he has to pay bribes and try to pay more for the good. If that happens, B and D is not a part of consumer surplus. Then only A is consumer surplus. In general, A, B, D is consumer surplus. But if the examiner specifically tells he has to spend extra time and all of that, then only A. So the inclusion of B and D depends on that. So now, then what happens to this B and D? Okay, this can be argued in different ways. If this is like only a searching cost, then you can say B and D is also deadweight loss. But if that B and D is like a black market price, if it is the consumer paying that to the producer, then B and D can even become a part of producer surplus. But I don't think your syllabus will go into that extent. It's not there also. So don't worry too much about that. Okay. But remember, consumer surplus will reduce from ABD to A. Is that okay? The letters and the story about B and D. Fine. Others also, guys, can you let me know if you're okay so that I know that you're not sleeping as well? There was a question. You tell everyone one web. Correct. Right. Sadis, you can give me the details as well. I can share it with them as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll send the details.
One second, how to find the producer surplus after maximum price. So produce, yes, I will do the calculation today, guys. Okay. Okay. Will you do this calculation again in my class? Depends on which class. If it's a 2023 batch, it's over. I did last week. 2024 batch, I'm doing it on next week. Okay. Right. So where are we? Right. Now we'll come to this shortage part, guys. Now some of you all asked me, so how do we solve this shortage? Now there is a shortage here in Maharashtra. There is 125 gas cylinders consumers are willing to buy, but only 75 gas cylinders supply. Now there is shortage. What can you do, guys? Can you think and tell me? Give me certain options. How can we solve this? How can we solve this shortage? That's like the first 125 people want, but only 75 people, 75 is supplied. So one thing that you can do is to solve this shortage. Number one is you can go and import. What can you do? You can import these gas cylinders. How much is short? 50 is short, no? So you can give a call to your good friend India. You can call and tell Mr. Modi, right? What can you tell him? Look here, Matan, we are short of 50 gas cylinders. Can you send us 50? Or you can call our good friend China. You can tell that fellow also, right? 50 poddam madi. Can you send in your next shipment? So you can import that shortage. Then also problem solved. The local suppliers would supply 75. 50 will be imported. Total 125 is there. So consumers are happily buying 125. Shortage problem solved. That is number one. What's the second one, guys? What else can you do? You can motivate the supplier to supply more. By doing what? You can provide some sort of incentive. What is an incentive? Provide incentives to the supplier. So what kind of thing? You can tell the supplier, look here, supplier, I will give you a subsidy, right? Or I will reduce your tax, right? Your corporate tax is this much. So for the next 5 years, don't pay tax, right? I can give some sort of incentive. Yes, can you tell me if a subsidy is given or if some sort of an incentive is given, what would happen to the supply? What happens to the supply, guys? Think and tell me. The supply shifts to the right, no? Supply increases. So look at this very carefully. Look at the board now. Okay. If the supply shifts to the right, let's say supply goes to this level. Okay. Let's say S goes to S2. What happens there? What happens there? Now can you see? At the price of 3,000, the consumer is also willing to buy 125. Supplier is also supplying 125. Problem solved. What did you do? You provided an incentive to the producer, like a tax benefit. You say, if you go and increase your supply, I will give you a tax benefit. For 5 years, don't pay tax. Or if your tax is 20%, okay, I will reduce it to 10%. Otherwise, you can give like a subsidy. Something like that would increase the supply. Shift it to the right means now suppliers also might supply 125 units. Again, the problem is solved. Either you can import, either you can provide an incentive and solve that issue. Let's say both of these fails, guys. What can we do? One, import also bad, incentives also bad. Now what do we do? What can we do then? Now we can use non-price rationing technique. What can we use? We can use non-price rationing. Like what? Okay. Oops.